Megan E. English Braga to the position of Associate Justice on the Probate and Family Court. I submit this nomination for advice and consent to the Executive Council pursuant to Chapter 2 of the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. And he enclosed the nominee's resume. So, welcome. If you'd like, Megan, you can introduce the folks you brought, or you can do it later, whatever you're comfortable with.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here today. I'd like to just begin by expressing my gratitude.
No, not your statement yet. Just introduce people.
Sure, I'd love to
Hear from your witnesses first.
Let me introduce my mother, Kathleen English, my stepfather, Robert Nolan. My husband, Rob, who's way over separated from everybody else. My sister, Molly English Braga, is here. My son, Derek Sterling. My daughter is only 7, so she didn't make it today. She's very busy. Judge Angela Ordonez and attorney Robert Nolan.
Great.
Robert Brown, excuse me.
Brown, there's a Nolan somewhere there. Right.
Trouble. I know.
Judge Ordonez, would you like to start us off as the first witness, please?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
All right, if I sit down?
Absolutely. Whatever you're comfortable with.
Good afternoon. My name is Angela Ordonez, Probate and Family Court Judge for 22 years. I've sat in just about every division in the Commonwealth. I've served as the First Justice of Nantucket and Norfolk Divisions, as well as the Chief Justice of the Probate and Family Court Department for 5 years. As of yesterday, I'm the most senior judge in our department, not the oldest, the most senior. I thank you all for your diligence, commitment, and vetting, considering judicial nominees. The work you do as governor's counselors is amongst the most important in the Commonwealth. I'm honored to appear before you as you deliberate information of attorney Megan English Braga. I've known attorney English Braga for the past 4 years as a frequent practitioner in the Barnstable Probate and Family Court. We're fortunate to have many outstanding members of the bar who practice in Barnstable. However, only a few in any bar in the Commonwealth had the breadth of experience that attorney English Braga has, which makes her an outstanding choice for the Probate and Family Court bench. Attorney English Braga has appeared before me on many dozens of cases representing men, women, and children, and she is an exceptionally talented practitioner. She has served as guardian ad litem on approximately 8 different matters before me. I always received timely reports and very well-written reports, and on many occasions, the parties would read those reports and resolve their differences with her recommendations. She has served as pro bono counsel in court-appointed cases for children in a program called the Attorneys Representing Children program on at least 4 cases before me. She has served as special master and contested on at least 2 contested matters, one a divorce, the other a trust. In all of my interactions with attorney English Braga, I have found her to be well-prepared and knowledgeable of the law. She's well-spoken. She wrote excellent pleadings and GIL reports. She took a practical and common sense approach on contested issues, and she was energetic and solution-oriented in resolving cases. She's well-tempered, confident, and never arrogant, professional, and respectful at all times. And the reason that I'm using the past tense is because she's no longer practicing law. A few months ago, she joined the Barnstable Probate and Family Court team as an assistant register. For the past several months, I've had the good fortune of getting to know Megan even better than before, and what stands out to me is her easygoing manner with a great sense of humor, and she does not get ruffled by anything. Her office is in the middle of the action. She is like Grand Central Station, where people magnetically pull to her because they see her kind face and want more information, and she's always there to give it. She brought all of these remarkable attributes to the court and seamlessly transitioned from legal advocate to a court attorney. And as I said, she helps dozens of people who represent themselves each day, as well as court personnel and attorneys. Because of her work in the Barnstable Court, she's been handling every type of matter that she would handle as a judge in our court. In my opinion, she has what it takes to be an exceptional probate and family court judge. She'll be able to meet the challenges, and I know that you're aware of a number of them, including the high-volume caseload and cases where people represent themselves. And to recap her many good qualities, she's well-versed in the law. She has full knowledge of all the matters that will come before her. She's an active listener and will convey her impartiality at every hearing. She's kind, calm, and respectful. And she'll help many people settle their differences in a fair manner. She's well-organized. She understands how to work in a high-pressure environment. She'll be able to handle the high caseload, both in hearing cases and writing timely decisions. She understands that justice delayed is justice denied. And I bring the good wishes and support of every member of the Barnstable Probate and Family Court. We don't want to lose her, but for the greater good, we support her, and we hope that you'll confirm her. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Judge. Any questions for the judge? Counsel Devaney?
Welcome back. Thank you.
How long has it been? 22 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Isn't that amazing?
Isn't that?
Wow. Jeepers. You look great. You look
Thank you.
different than 22 years ago.
Pandemic color.
And I'm the only one here that voted for you.
Chris Iannella was here too.
Yeah, he's not here. Oh, yeah. Very, very proud. Really.
Thank you so much.
You've done an outstanding job. And it means a lot to have you as a witness today. She is outstanding.
Yeah.
Now, tell me, out of all her qualities, what do you see as the major quality that she's bringing to the bench?
Well, there's a number of them, but when I emphasize that she doesn't get ruffled, it's very important because there are issues and personalities that might want to goad you into having a bad temper. That's not going to happen, Megan. Absolutely not. So that's an extremely good quality. And those are things that you can't really learn. You can learn the law, you can learn procedure, but having an excellent temperament and the ability to manage a courtroom in a fair manner is important.
Well, in her past experience too, you put it all together, it's for the same position, really.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, thank you for coming.
Thank you, Judge.
Oh, yes, so I used to come more often.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thanks for taking the ride from Cape Cod. Attorney Brown.
Good afternoon. My name is Robert A. Brown. I'm honored to speak this afternoon on behalf of the judicial nominee, Megan English Braga, from the town of Falmouth. Thank you for allowing me to speak on Attorney Braga's behalf and your services for vetting judicial nominees for our Commonwealth's Court. I live and work in Falmouth. I've been an attorney for 27 years. I'm the Massachusetts Bar Association House Delegate, Region 1 for Barnstable, Dukes, and Nantucket counties. My practice is 95% in the probate and family courts of Barnstable and Dukes County. I'm occasionally in Nantucket and Plymouth too. I practice law in the law firm of Brown and Barbosa. My partner is my wife, Paula, who's also a friend of Megan too. And she's advised me to do a very good job here today. It now appears that we may have to share Megan, rest of the Commonwealth. She's very much loved in the town of Falmouth and highly thought of. I met Attorney Braga 31 years ago when I was working at the Seacrest Beach Hotel in North Falmouth. She was 16 years old with a whistle around her neck, working as a lifeguard. I met her mother, Attorney Braga, 31 years in 1998 when I was working for legal services for Cape Cod and the Islands, which also covered 13 towns at the time in Plymouth, and she was working in a Plymouth office. I know her husband, I know her sister, I know her cousins, I know her uncles, I know her friends, and her family is just absolutely phenomenal. They're a community service organization on their own. Anytime that there's a problem, that's someone that they know about, they pitch in, they help out, they raise money, they get food, they get services. Her mother, her sister, her extended family, her uncles, incredible deeds that they have done in the town of Falmouth for the least of our brothers and sisters, their friends, family, and people they don't even know. Attorney Braga has given her time to VIPs, volunteer in public schools for many years. She's president of the Portuguese American Club.
Hey.
Which my wife is a big fan of also. She's from Portugal.
Your wife Portuguese?
Yes.
You married up?
I did. So Attorney Braga has served the town of Falmouth very well as a finance committee member, as a representative town meeting member, as well as she served on the board of select for 6 years, 2 years as vice chair, 2 years as chair, and 2 years as an associate member. Her term ended in May 2022. I can tell you this, Falmouth, Massachusetts trusts her, and in preparation for this meeting, I sort of did an election scorecard for her. As a town meeting member, she got the highest votes in her precinct each and every time. As a finance committee member, she was appointed unanimously by the town meeting. On the select board, 2 terms, 3 years, the highest vote tally of each and every candidate. Tuesday, May 17, 2016, she was first elected to the select board. The next morning, she's in the probate and family court. It's Wednesday pretrial day. I thought she was going to ask me for a continuance, but no, she wanted to go. And we met with Judge Riley and we had a conference, and we didn't settle the case that day, but she did get me to apply and get appointed to be on the recreation committee for the town of Falmouth that day. So, and she told me to work for Good Fields for Children and handicapped accessibility, and I've been trying to do my best to live up to her expectations of me. She, as a select board meeting, she has served her town incredibly well through some very controversial topics. I got a list of just a few, well, not more, a little bit more than a few, but if I could tell you them, it'd be wind turbines, sewers, septic, water quality, steamship ferry traffic, steamship ferry noise, old fire stations, new fire stations, needle exchanges, overdose crisis, dual treatment center next to a school, unaffordable housing, not in my backyard affordable housing, staff shortages, pandemic, masking, unmasking, remote, unremote, outdoor eating, outdoor drinking, surplus police guns, docks, streets, development, fields, school wages, not enough pickleball courts.
That's a problem.
For now. Just gonna leave now.
Annual and special town meetings in a pandemic, remote, outside, inside, yikes, I can't begin to tell you.
Get it. Thank you.
This lady is ready for prime time in the Probate Family Court, as in her role as the select board chairman. She also was a star running remote Zoom meetings for the Board of Select, and she did a great job. More importantly, she's been a liaison to committees. One of them was the Disability Committee, and I got to tell you, she's very well thought of by the chair, Catherine, and they're going to miss her. She showed up for them, and she's going to show up for the people that go onto the Probate and Family Court each and every day and do a great job for them.
Chairman? Yes. Yes, Counselor.
As I indicated outside, I can't stay for the hearing. I have to attend to a personal matter. But I certainly appreciate everything you said, and I think she's going to be a great nominee. I know that her parents, her stepfather and mother, are very, very proud. And I'm going to be voting for her when we vote, I think, in 2 weeks.
Thank you, Counselor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Were you done?
A little bit more if I could.
Well, you're way over the time limit, but all right, we're gonna give it to you.
All right.
She's just so much to talk about. You can't.
Attorney Braga is a competent, ethical domestic relations attorney. I've been on the other side with her on a number of cases over the years, and she has strong knowledge of the law. She knows the rules of evidence, which is important to me, and she's always prepared and on time, which is important to me also. The court here is much more than divorce, custody, support cases each and every day. They hear some very, very important cases that come in through their doors from the Department of Mental Health, from the Department of Developmental Services, from Elder Services, from Falmouth Hospital, Cape Cod Hospital. And these are the cases which I believe where judges must really pay attention, where judges really need to shine. This is a lot of life and death situations. This is situations where you're putting people in nursing homes, or taking people out of nursing homes. Do not resuscitate, do not intubate, comfort care measures. These are some of the things that are in the probate in court each and every day. And to wrap this up and to make my speech a little bit more shorter, I could tell you this. I trust Attorney Braga to make those decisions. I trust Attorney Braga to make those decisions for myself and my loved ones. I think she'll do a phenomenal job. And like I said, when I first met her, she was a lifeguard, and she's going to be a great lifeguard for the probate and family court. And I hope that you vote her in. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That's very enlightening. Thank you very much. All right. Anyone else to speak in favor? Anyone speaking against? We're going to close that part of the hearing, and we're going to hear from you, Ms. Braga.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Judge Ordonez. Thank you, Bob. Those are just really touching, just to hear your perspectives from judges you're in front of on a regular basis, and colleagues and friends that you've known for a long time. I appreciate that. So good afternoon. I know it's been a long day for all of you. I want to express my thanks. I know this is a labor of love for each and every one of you, but it's a labor nonetheless, and it's been a long day, so I'll try to be brief. The decisions that are made in this room that each and every one of you make impact the lives of individuals throughout the Commonwealth. So thank you for your efforts from the important deliberations that you make. I want to thank the Judicial Nominating Commission for extending that initial interview to me, for advancing my application. I want to thank the governor for nominating me, and for the lieutenant governor and the governor for their very thorough, thoughtful interviews. It was clear from the questions they asked that their focus was really on children and the most vulnerable in our Commonwealth, so I thank them for that. I want to thank Ms. McCarthy and her staff really for seamlessly coordinating the events today, for their help ensuring that I have everything I needed to be here today. I want to thank Attorney Ross, and I especially want to thank Attorney Green and her staff for the guidance over these many months. As you know, this process is a bit steeped in mystery for regular folks, and they helped to demystify that. And they were very generous in their time with all of my questions. With me today, as I indicated, is my husband, Rob. He supported me through, as you could maybe glean from the comments, literally hundreds of meetings that I've gone to over the years. And the only question he ever asked when I sign up for something is, will this make you happy? He probably should come up with another question, but I couldn't be here today if it weren't for him. He is really a partner in everything that I do, and he is behind me 100%. And so I want to thank him for all of his support. Also here with me, as I said, is my mother and stepfather, and I'll speak about them a bit more in a moment, and my son Derek. He's a student here in the Boston area. My daughter Simone is doing something fabulous in first grade at North Falmouth Elementary School. We're probably all jealous of whatever it is she's doing. And you know, my children's stories are their own, and they can tell them in their own time, but I will simply say this. My children aren't my biological children. I can't take credit for creating the beauty that they are. That credit goes to their respective biological mothers and fathers. But under different circumstances and at different times, their parents entrusted them to Rob and I. I endeavor every single day to be worthy. I have to look at my sister, and then she made me want to cry, but I endeavor every day to be worthy of that sacred honor. They really are the reason for everything that I do. They are my greatest priority and my greatest joy. I strive every day to be the best parent that I can be. It is just an incredible honor and gift to watch them grow, to see them take on the challenges and opportunities that this life has for them. And so I am very pleased to be able to have my son share in this moment. He was able to get out of one class, and it better have only been one. That's what he said it was. So one class today to be here. But I'm so happy he's able to share this moment with me. I'm also here with my younger sister, Molly. She is a woman of uncompromising loyalty, unflinching honesty, even at times when you wish it would be otherwise. And really, as you might have heard from Attorney Brown, unsung generosity. She's someone that you want on your side when times are tough, and she's been a rock in many storms. I'm also joined by, as I said, my mother and stepfather. Unfortunately, my father, Donald Braga, and his partner, Bonnie, couldn't be here, but I think they're going to watch at some point, so I send them my love. I know you've seen my resume, you've seen the information. I don't want to repeat it, but I'll just share a little bit about who I am and how that would inform the type of judge I would be if I'm granted that honor. In thinking about this and what I would share, I recalled at one point meeting a gentleman who's from Louisiana, and upon making his acquaintance, his first question to me was, who are your people? I didn't understand what he was asking, and he explained where he came from. You don't say, what do you do for a living when you meet someone, or where do you live? You say, who are your people? And that's how you situate someone. That's how you get to know them. And I loved that, and it really stuck with me. So if you will indulge me for a moment, let me just tell you a little bit about who my people are. My parents were married young. My mother, as I mentioned, she's here, and she is one of the most intelligent people I've ever met. She graduated high school at 16 because that's how smart she is. And she wanted to go off to college, but that wasn't something that her family supported for a daughter. So she did the next best thing that she could think of to become independent and start her own life. And she got married. She was 16 and my dad was 19, and they started their life together. And 3 years later, their first child, I was born, and 3 years after that, my sister Molly was born. As you can imagine, at 16 and 19, you don't start off with a lot of resources. My dad had already been working since he was 13, doing auto body work. He had an opportunity for a football scholarship, but had passed it up because he first had to work and help support his parents, and then he had his own family to support. So you had two individuals working, my dad doing auto body and masonry, and my mom cleaning houses. But they made it work, and my mother didn't give up her dream of going to college. She started off at 4 C's and did so well that she actually got a scholarship to Boston College, a full scholarship. But as you can imagine, trying to raise kids and work and commute from Falmouth to Chestnut Hill was pretty impossible. So after a semester, she transferred to SMU, which is now UMass Dartmouth, and she was able to finish her bachelor's degree there. Due in part to getting married so young and financial stressors, after 21 years, my parents got divorced when I was in high school. And finances were even more constricted. So when I entered Wellesley College, I worked in the kitchens there and nannied and cleaned houses and landscaped to pay for college. And meanwhile, my mom continued on with her education. She took the LSATs and went to school nights at Southern New England School of Law, where she ultimately met the man who'd become my stepfather and one of my best friends, Robert Nolan. He was a Vietnam veteran who'd been a police officer for almost 30 years. The two of them went on to get their law degrees, and actually Bob just wrapped up 25 years of private practice as a criminal attorney this year. So really just a phenomenal story for the two of them. So during this time, my dad continued to really be the steadying force that he always was. He worked 6 days a week doing auto body work until just a few years ago. His body physically couldn't do it anymore. And he really was a master of his craft. If you can imagine the artistry of being able to take an unfinished piece of metal and paint it and finish it to a perfect pearlescence in 110-degree weather in a spray booth, he could pretty much do anything. And he worked tirelessly without complaint. And he really taught me that your word is your bond, and that you take pride in the work that you do regardless of what that task is. And I carried that with me throughout Wellesley. And into my first job, I worked in the area of special needs, advocating for children. I worked with a young man, his name was Evan. Worked with him when he was 11 and worked with him all the way until he was done with college. He just turned 34. He became quadriplegic at age 7 when his father had run him over. And I really consider him as part of my family. He really inspired me with his perseverance and his courage in the face of unimaginable physical pain and adversity. And it was that inspiration that pushed me forward to get my master's degree, and I did so in the area of education, focusing on trauma intervention and adolescent development. After that, that program at Harvard Graduate School of Education, I worked with children at Charlestown at the Edwards Middle School, in a program that was collaborative between Harvard, McLean Hospital, and the Boston Public School System, working with underserved children. Then worked for DYS at Taunton State Hospital for committed youth, running therapy for boys who had significant trauma histories. And I learned from these boys. It's where I came to understand the true impact that trauma has on human development. It's the stories that these boys shared with me that actually led me to enter law school. I did so studying at Suffolk, going nights right down the hill. I worked full-time, and then when I was finished in 2009, I opened my own practice. And I focused my work on children and families in crisis and transition. And really, those are my people, at least some of them. Those are the individuals who inspired me and have shaped the work that I've done. So as I sit here today, I'm somebody who came from humble but very proud beginnings, from parents who married as teenagers and beat all of the statistical odds to send both of their children to college, for a mother who, stop looking. I can't look in that direction. A mother who really married at 16 and became an attorney, which is phenomenal. And built an incredible life for herself and has inspired. She's working now with children in a high school who are themselves experiencing incredible trauma and are bridging back into school after having been hospitalized for mental health needs. So she is really continuing the work that she did in the juvenile courts. So I hope that as you consider my nomination, that you'll understand that my training provides an awareness that those who come before the court really are coming with a history that can be informed by trauma, from mental health challenges, from substance use disorder, and that these aren't human failings, but they are challenges that the court has to deal with on a daily basis because they impact the cases that the court must address. And a judge needs awareness, training, and experience to bring the resources to bear so that those families, those individuals, and those children can be adequately provided for and can have those cases have outcomes that have the best results that the court can provide, because that's what the court is there for. And I'm happy to answer any questions that this council would have for me. So thank you for your time and for your consideration.
Thank you. Councilor Jubenville.
Thank you. So here's a test I'm going to give you. There are, I believe, 6 or 7 reasons why somebody can be divorced in this Commonwealth. From no fault. You have to give me at least 2 of the other reasons.
Okay.
It's just for the whole ballgame.
Okay. Adultery, cruelty. Do you want?
You're done.
Although, isn't cruelty attached to another word?
Abuse. Yeah.
You gotta get that.
Yeah.
No, I think you're a great candidate. We had known you for many years, and we had a wonderful time doing a murder case together, even though her field isn't murder. She was very successful in that case. Did a great job.
Thank you.
So I'll be proud to vote for you next week. What is the vote?
I don't know if it's next week or the week after, not sure.
Whatever the vote is.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Jubenville. Thank you. Councilor Devaney.
Thank you. I can't tell you how much I enjoyed meeting you and the time that you afforded me. And I have to say, in my 23 years, I don't know anyone that has, and I love your witness, and I voted for her, and she's wonderful. But you are unique. You come with experience that I haven't seen in 23 years. And the probate court is so important. And what I see now in our society, children being tortured and murdered, and it's constant every day. They found a 5-year-old buried, and his mother tortured him, and they beat him to death, and they buried him. And I'm angry. He got 40 years. That man got 40 years for killing that 5-year-old. Should have got life. I don't understand the sentencing. In talking about sentencing, I like that you have criminal experience. My greatest fear is when someone is appointed and they have no criminal experience. They've never had a criminal case as an attorney. And they are timid about giving the correct sentence. Maybe if I look into this one for 40 years, maybe that's what happened. But anyway, that aside, I'm just so impressed. Your whole life has been of service. And you've had 2 careers that I combine. What, 20, how many years, 20?
About 23
Yeah,
years.
right. And you have dedicated your life to disabled and people, who are not able to have the money to have a lawyer, and you've done that. And you represented children, guardian ad litem, all of the things you've done. But you know what? No one has come before me that has walked in the shoes of the people that are coming into that court as you. And I'm not telling tales out of school because it's part of your legacy. How amazing that you adopted a baby that was going through withdrawal. She was,
Council Devaney, I don't think that's true or relevant. That's not true.
I'm sorry, what?
I know her family, that's not true. And I don't want it to get out that something is true that's not. It's not a true statement. So just go on about her qualifications.
Our daughter didn't have any, we adopted our daughter, but she was very healthy, fine when she was born.
But when you told me about, situation that she had, that she went through, I'm not telling anything that she didn't
I
tell
don't
me.
want you to say the wrong thing, that's all.
I'm telling you what she told me, okay? So I'm just saying that it's just remarkable. And that there's so many people that come before you that are living lives and with opiate problems and all of that you've seen. And you have a wonderful family. You have a son that's going to college. I mean, it's just remarkable. And also, you being on a select board, I was a counselor at large for decades. And I had a laugh when I read your application. And it's true, you could be walking down the street, or you could be in a grocery store, or whatever, and they come up to you. I know that. But all of that made you the person you were. So tell me about your first career and how that came into being a lawyer and what that attributes to being the person you are.
Sure. So my career, really, the first 10, 11, 12 years of my working life was working really exclusively with children and for children, both in school settings and then in a clinical setting. And it was really such a joy because I was able to work with children who needed to have that advocacy and that voice for them. And I think the piece of it is that connects with the court and the work that I did as an attorney, as a practitioner, and the work that would take place if I were to be appointed as a judge, is that, really understanding child development and understanding the way that trauma impacts the development of a child. And we think of trauma, we hear that word, and sometimes we just think of the big traumas, right? But there are lots of little traumas. So within the court, in the probate and family court, a family coming apart and changing and transitioning is a trauma. And that's going to impact children in different ways. And every child is going to be different and impact them differently. Not to mention the fact that, of course, we do have some of those more significant pieces where you have children whose parents are struggling with mental health issues, struggling with substance use disorder. And that clinical piece, a judge is not a clinician, a judge is not a social worker. So certainly that would not be my role. But having a judge who has an awareness of that, who can see that, and then, as I noted, bringing some of those resources. We do have some, not enough, some resources within the court system. We do have probation, an incredible resource to do investigations, to connect families with outside clinicians, right, counseling, to set up drug testing, to do some of those things. We do, in some courts, have court clinicians to, again, do either sort of more truncated investigations of a parent, or speak with the child, or do a jail investigation. have those longer jail investigations, whether it's a category F where you're going to have an attorney maybe do it, or B where you have a real, PhD level or social worker do that deeper level dive. But you need judges who are aware of that enough to do that, right? And to understand the value of it. And I think that the work that I have done in my prior career situates me well to be able to see that and see some of those issues within those cases. And it's not always just with children, it's with elders as well. We have cases that come before the court, guardianship cases, where you need those things to take place as well. And so I do believe that piece is very helpful.
And you've had so many that grandparents have to step in, and parents want the rights to bring up the children, and they're drug addicted and everything, and God bless those grandparents. But I wasn't surprised at all when you said the 4 qualities to be a judge, and the first thing you said was compassion. I look for compassion. I wouldn't vote for anyone that didn't have compassion, and you have it. And you have that ability when you work with children in the court. I was so impressed that they're frightened, and you don't bring them in the courthouse, but you bring them in another room, and you have all of these, like they say, you bring all your toolbox with your coloring books and everything to make that child comfortable. I mean, that's part of it. It's not just legal knowledge. It's not what you learn in law school. It's so much more. And you don't have to learn it. We don't need a mentor, because now we have mentors, thank God, because some of the judges need it. But you certainly don't need it. You should be a mentor.
Yeah, well, for the record, I'll be happy to have a mentor. I think we can always keep learning.
But you should be a mentor. I think that people have to learn that, a lot of the judges. But, the thing is that we're living in such a dangerous society. I mean, children aren't being cared for, and we see the abuse that's going on, and we'll never know how much abuse is going on. What bothered me was during the COVID, and I'm thinking, people don't know what's going on in those homes, and there's children being abused, and there's women and domestic, abuse and everything. We can't take care of all that, but we need someone like you in the court. I mean, it isn't a 9-to-5 job. Your whole life has been, helping people. And so, what do you feel, and you can name a lot, what was the most rewarding case that you've had?
Sure, I think, I had a case that I worked on where it's rewarding, maybe isn't the greatest of terms, but maybe impactful. I actually was appointed as a guardian ad litem. I think actually Judge Rodoni was appointed in this case, but, and there were allegations that the guardian may have been grooming the child, and at the end of the investigation, the child was ultimately removed from the guardian ad litem and placed back with the child's mother, which was really the best placement for that child. And there had been some barriers to the child going back with mother. And the barriers were sort of inside that family dynamic. But the placement was very appropriate, and mother had been situated and ready and able to take care and take custody of that child for quite a while. And it was the family dynamic with her parent that was really preventing her from doing that. And that investigation, it's not because of me, but it's part of the case as a whole. DCF became involved, other pieces came into play, but it was very rewarding to see that family shift in a way where the care of that child went back. Number one, he was, I think, protected from what was either abuse that was happening or abuse that may have been soon to happen. But he also went back to his mother, which was where he should have been. So there are cases like that, but even just there are small things that are rewarding. When you, just in my position now as assistant register, when folks come in for name changes and they are affirming their identity in the court, and you see somebody who's sort of spent their whole life and they're waiting, and they come in and they have that name change and they're affirming their identity that they have probably wanted to take a hold of for their whole life. And they go through that and they get that final paperwork. That's a somewhat simple thing for some of us. We might not have that feeling that they do, but they get that piece of paper that has the name that they feel is their true name and what is rightfully how they should be identified. I know the probate family court gets a bad rap, but wonderful things happen there. Really good things happen in that court too, and that's one of them. So there are big and small, I think, victories that take place.
But in your experience and what you observed in your life experience, what changes would you like to see in the probate court? There must be something that you see that could be better.
Sure, if we didn't have a barrier to sort of resource or training, I mean, I would love it if our courts could be, if we could shift to a more trauma-informed way of addressing some cases. Not every case has trauma. We don't have to think that every case is like that, but the courts, all courts, not just the probate family court, the criminal court, district courts are the same, but our courts are front lines, just like our schools, for mental health and substance use disorder. We are asking judges and we are asking teachers to handle very intense, very complex issues, and the courts are not equipped for it. We don't, judges have not traditionally been trained for this. We don't have resources and structures in place traditionally. And I do think that we could have better outcomes for families and for children if we had a model that was more trauma informed. And I think we're learning that, but maybe not quite as quickly as your institution. Institutions don't pivot quickly. But I think if we could move in that direction, that we would do better by children.
Thank you.
And
Council Devaney, can you wrap it up, please?
with divorce, what can be done,
Council Devaney,
yeah, when the parents are going through a divorce?
this will be the last question.
I'm sorry, what?
I said you have cases where children are really, traumatized by the divorce.
The divorce, yeah.
What do you see what kind of help can be given to these children?
Sure. I mean, I think that there are suggestions and things that can be worked into some divorce agreements. It depends on the spectrum of how upset the children are. I mean, there's upset because a divorce is happening, and then there's real trauma because something else is taking place in the family. So there are things that can be worked into a divorce agreement that try to put supports in place for children, counseling or other pieces that can be put in.
Thank you.
It's all within the purview of the judge or the parties.
Thank you. Councilor Duff.
Thank you.
I just want to thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Councilor Duff.
You, Attorney Braga, I have to say, your education is stellar.
Thank you.
I mean, Wellesley, excellent, excellent. I mean, Harvard's good. Wellesley's better.
I agree. There was a shirt I had that said,
No, it really,
it said anonymous was a Wellesley woman. I still have that.
that's good.
My kid got a master's at Harvard. You better be careful.
Still paying a lot of taxes, so don't get me wrong.
Oh, so we.
If you look at who comes out, first of all, if you look at who comes out of women's colleges, they're exceptional. It's a different way. Full disclosure, I did.
Yeah.
So my father, I didn't want to do it, but my father told me it would be the best gift I ever gave myself, and he was absolutely, absolutely right. There's literally no comparison. But I thank you for some of the comments that you made about probate court, because it has a reputation of being a bit of a train wreck.
Yeah.
And so you've really brought to light for me, because I've been harsh on it. Because I work in probate court at times, and I have a case going on there. I'm not an attorney, I'm a realtor, but I help other people get things through, and it's literally astounding to me. He said, this one case, it's been almost 2 years, and they have all the documentation. I, for the life of me, can't understand. I mean, I'm not a lawyer, and I can tell them what the decision is. I already know. I know what it's going to be. And so there were some real breakdowns, but I think the management breakdowns between the registries of probate and the court when it comes to these real estate issues, because I don't think most people really understand real estate. They think they do, but they really don't. But what you brought to light today about probate is the real life affirming work that you guys do. And it's not just all horrible bad things.
It's good. It's really good thing.
And that's something that I don't think I speak of. And I don't think many people do. So thank you for saying that, because I think I think it's real. You made me really, even though I was doing all this, you made me stop in my head and think, a little bit of personal introspection of, I'm critical of it sometimes, but what else happens there? And it's, people know I'm Italian Irish, I've got a hot temper, I'm spicy, shoot from the hip and everything. And that can be fine and good, but sometimes you really need to stop and withdraw and think. And thank you for making me do that.
Yeah.
Because you really did. What you said was just such an affirming thing. And I'm not going to go into there's a million things I could go into with you on this. You've got a fabulous resume. That alone to me shows that you're a person of perception and good judgment, but the thing that can't be quantified on the resume, and that's something that I think is important for our judges to have, is, you can have this super duper resume and you can have, and we've seen it. I mean, we've seen people apply to become judges that have stellar resumes. And, they say, why do you think you should be a judge? Well, all my friends think I should be. I mean, really? That's not a very good answer. I think you're really coming from a place of contribution. And for me, that speaks to who I am and what I'd like to see in the criminal justice system is people who are really, there out of contribution. So thank you for your application. You're eminently qualified. Your witnesses were fabulous, and I hope that you get.
Thank you so much.
And I hope that you work. You're awfully young. I mean, we're seeing you 10-year-olds coming in here more. But again, I have to put myself in check and look at the positive side of that. You can't see the light if you don't see the dark, and you can't see the dark if you don't see the light. And so, not to say that this is a question of that, but it's, the good news is that you will have time to learn more and to grow more and hopefully ascend into a great leader in the court. And that is my hope for you, because I think that you clearly have the intellect and the temperament to really be a future leader. And I look forward to watching you.
Appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Councilor Duff, Councilor DePaulo.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
We've heard a lot about your perspective already. We think your background with a master's in education and these direct service positions will make you a better judge?
I do.
Has it made you a better lawyer?
Yes.
When you talk about trauma-informed system, case that I've talked about a few times is a case called the Commonwealth Prince Ulani. Are you familiar with that case?
Not that I can draw on right now.
So a minor girl, I believe was dual involved UIS, anyhow, had a verbal outburst at a judge. It was disrespectful. It was profanity laden. And the child was held in contempt, literally on the spot, and taken into custody in the courtroom. Is that a trauma-informed system, do you think? And by the way, the SJC,
That's
in an open term, is that a trauma? What went wrong, do you think?
no, that's not trauma. So when folks,
And so if we could segue this into
Sure,
what I'm
yeah.
going to say, the judge, what's the threshold for contempt as just an example of dealing with the folks in your courtroom?
sure. So you have to start, let me say this. When folks come into the court, you have to begin the very, outset, understanding that every individual, even if they are not coming in from any history of trauma, is going to be at a heightened level of anxiety, because that's what the court is, okay? It is stress inducing. So no one is going to be at their best. People who are normally completely genteel and civil are going to not project in the way that they will do, every 6 other days of the week.
Sure.
Then when you have someone who has a trauma history and you bring them in and whatever is taking place in that courtroom is going to trigger that for them. No, you have to, safety for me is the key, right? Who is safe in that courtroom? Everybody needs to be safe. Safety doesn't just mean physical safety, that's a given. But certainly, you have the individuals that come before you need to feel that they are safe to have their case heard, for them to be able to express themselves. You can't have profanity, but that does not mean someone's in contempt. It means that they're stepping the case back, that they're taking a moment to collect themselves in the hallway, that they're having, we have this happen in our court all the time. Let me give you an example, and this will probably illuminate the type of person I would be as a judge. We had an individual who had missed a day. He had missed his day on a contempt. He came into the court. He thought his attorney, his criminal attorney, had handled it. A capias had issued for him. He came into the court and he was absolutely beside himself, screaming to the point where the court officer had to come up, screaming about the fact that I would never have missed court, talking about the mother of his child. People were scared.
Yeah.
I asked him to step back, come back out of the line, step back. Let's take a moment. What's happening here? And he explained, I thought my attorney took care of this. I would never miss court. I said, okay, the capias, there's no constable here. You're not going to be taken. You're not going to be arrested. We're going to straighten this out. We're going to take care of it. We're going to get judicial. We're going to get a new date. You're here. You're not avoiding a capias. You're here. It was profane language. It was yelling. It was frightening people, but we de-escalated the situation because he was having a moment of just being upset.
Can I interrupt?
Sure.
So are you trained in de-escalation techniques?
Yes.
You are.
Yes, when I worked for DYS, yes.
I honestly am not aware. Are court officers trained in de-escalation?
I don't know, but they should be.
I used to be a special ed teacher in alternative programs, so some of the same population. And what I found is, even in the general ed section setting, we're asking teachers to do more and more with their job. We're asking them to be social workers and guidance counselors. Most schools have absurd ratios of counselors to students. We're asking them to be, as I said, social workers. Connecting the dots for kids and families, following up, home visits, all this stuff. And then on top of it, I'm restraint trained. Like, you're in a position where you're trying to restrain, you have to restrain a child. Right. You have to restrain a child. And when you work in that setting, you know that there's no punitive approach that's going to solve any problem. Punitive approach, whether it's in a school or in a courtroom, and I know you're not going to district court, no matter where it's gonna
Make it worse.
exacerbate. It's gonna exacerbate. That's not like a question. And I think, and I'm getting tangential here, I think it's the wrong idea. The issues I'm concerned about, it's the wrong idea, I think, to defund the police. What we should be doing is adding folks into police departments who have that specialized training, who can supplement what our police officers do.
So that's what we did in Falmouth. I'll just say, as a select person,
No,
we
I know.
actually supplemented human services clinician.
Right.
We have them working with our police department.
Right.
For that.
I think just like teachers, and I don't mean to equate the roles, police officers are being asked to do way too much in an already stressful job, in my opinion. That's my opinion. When you have that complex childhood trauma, you said that it impacts your development
Yes.
beyond childhood. How does that impact? Because a 42-year-old who was abused as a child is not done dealing with that abuse and is not done processing it and isn't done navigating the world, trying to keep themselves under control, I guess.
I guess it depends. It's going to depend on what they've done it's going to depend on some of their therapeutic trajectories.
Absolutely, but it's not gone. Strategies are in place or whatever the case may be. So this is a general philosophical question that you kind of address, but like as a judge, forget about the kids, about the parents and all that kind of stuff.
But all of it is the same, right? In the sense that, I'll just say what my experience has been is that when people are escalating in a courtroom, it's because they feel like what they're trying to express to the judge is not being heard. right? So there are ways that you can, their case can't be heard all day long. There are timelines, but part of it is the way a judge communicates, and I don't want to, I'm not going to put her on the spot, but I'll just say that I think Judge Ordonez is an individual who does this well. She does not raise the voice to meet the person. She keeps it sort of, she employs strategies that help that person understand everything they want to say is going to be heard at some point. It may not be heard right then and there, but what they want to express to the court is going to be heard. And for somebody who is in that heightened state, for the environment around them to remain calm, not for the environment to meet them in a heightened state, is what they need. Now, some people reach a level where you do have to remove them, not hold them in contempt, remove them from that setting because they are not in control of their body and the hearing can't go on. And that happens sometimes. And maybe you need a continuance, and maybe you need, and that just happens, right? But my point is that we have to understand, and we have to be humane, and we have to treat people with dignity and respect. And we have to recognize that they are in front of the court to address things that are incredibly challenging. And that's how we have to, that's how we have to conduct business in the court. We can't just barrel through. It won't result in an end product that is beneficial to anyone.
For me, trauma-informed justice system is the way to solve a lot of the problems we see. We have a lot of nominees come through. Certainly, we have very, very, very few nominees come through who have any level of trauma-informed care training. Sometimes they have implicit bias training, which is its own, I have my own dubious feelings about. And then, and sometimes they've had someone in their family or a friend who's experienced something hard, and that's built empathy. But it's no substitution for someone who has the background. And I know that there's tons of lawyers who are very qualified and experienced who have background one way or another. Maybe they don't have a master's in education and particular clinical work. But I'd love to see more nominees who do have a background that does reflect that, who can be conversant in these issues. So I applaud the governor for putting me forward, and I have no further questions.
Thank you. Thank you for
Mr. Counselor, anything to follow? You have one question? Yes, go ahead.
I'd be remiss, Counselor, if I didn't ask this question. I served 22 years on the Commission on Disability, and I want to know how you integrate your experience into the court when you were a special needs coordinator, legal advocate, and you advocated for disabled, coordinating academic, medical, and psychosocial services for the benefit of individuals with goal of improving health outcomes and quality of life. How would you be able to integrate that in the court?
Sure. Again, I think that piece comes to making sure that we understand who is before the court. So understanding the individual that is coming before the court, if they have an advocate, if it's someone who's under guardianship, if it's someone who is under conservatorship. We have an excellent practitioner here who goes really above and beyond for his clients. But, we have individuals who have different levels of ability, and it's across the spectrum. It's, and we have to make sure that we recognize that they may communicate in ways that are different. They may process information in ways that are different, and they may respond to their reactions and responses to what takes place in the courtroom may be different. So when you're when there's an individual in front of you and they may not respond in a way that sort of is normative, I think that the court needs to make sure they're thinking, does this person is there a different challenge or disability that's there, and not assume something negative, right? Because sometimes people, if they're on the autistic spectrum, they may process and display emotion in different ways, and you don't want to infer negatively in a way that may impact their case in a negative
We
manner.
can't even go into all of what you've done. That was 10 years that you did that. And so many judges don't understand what you're saying. You think of someone coming with some mental issues or autism or whatever it is, And I just think you could be a mentor.
all of your background and your experience.
I agree.
Yeah, I just need to get to the judge part first. So I'll just wait for that first.
So, now it's my turn to ask questions, so it's not my turn, I go last. But I've been a fan of yours.
Counselor Ferreira,
Oh, I'm sorry, you want to be heard too, Counselor Hurley?
just once in a while.
I'm sorry, out of sight, out of mind, I apologize.
How can that be? Out of sight, out of mind. How can that be?
We can't see you, that's a
I'm
problem.
totally confused. I
see you.
pushed a button on my computer on the WebEx thing. And I don't know how to get the video back. It's very frustrating, but I'm
All
gonna
right,
bring
well, we can hear you, you're fine.
next week. In any event, you've got an incredible resume.
Thank you.
What you've done with your two kids is phenomenal. I applaud you and your husband both for being willing to take a chance and working hard at making sure you do everything you can to make sure that those children get a real shot at life. You've certainly got incredible experience. And all I can say is I get to go last, so by the time they get to me, I don't really have a lot of questions that haven't already been asked. But how old are you now?
45.
Okay. So I was 45 when I got on the bench in the district court. I thank God I applied before that for probate court. And every day that I had to sit in a 209A section, I thank God I didn't get to be a probate court judge. It is by far the most difficult court to be in. And there's a saying that goes, in the district court and superior court, you see the worst people acting at their best. And in probate court, you oftentimes see the best people acting at their worst. So number one, get a robe before you go on the bench. I'm not kidding. Somebody actually wrote.
No, I heard about a kerfuffle. Yes.
Yeah. Number two, if you ever have a case that's getting to you to the point where you want to stand up and start just screaming at these people because they're being so incredibly bad, take a recess. And number three, when you get to be 65, don't let it get to you, or 50, 58 or whatever. Don't let it get to you. So I wish you the best of luck. I think you're going to do a great job. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor Hurley. So it's my turn, but I'm not gonna ask questions for the sake of asking questions. I've been a fan for a long time and encourage you to apply. You have a stellar reputation. You've done an incredible amount of public service. And I think you're gonna be a great addition to the Probate and Family Court in Cape Cod or wherever they put you for a long time. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Hearing is concluded.
Thank you all. Thank you so much.